Hello and welcome to The Alchemist Way. This is a conversation series exploring the heart of the creative hero's journey and the art of transforming our greatest challenges into opportunities to become more of who we're here to be and inspiration for what we're here to create. My guest today is James McCrae. James is an author, a poet, and teacher at the intersection of mindfulness and creativity. I first came across James through his Words of Vibrations Instagram page, where he has grown an audience by sharing powerful truths in simple, bite-sized, universally resonant ways. I really see James as an artist of ideas, and we had a really beautiful and powerful conversation where he shared vulnerably and openly about the current season of transformation that he's in, moving towards what he calls being nobody and navigating the uncertainty of personal transitions. We also talked about the balance between creating for an audience versus creating for oneself and just for our own alchemy. And James also shared what he's currently getting into, where he's deriving inspiration these days. It was a potent, rich, and fun conversation. And if you're someone who's on your own creative path and wanting to find inspiration as you approach the blank page or whatever step is next on your journey, there's lots of goodness in this episode. Hello and welcome to The Alchemist Way. This is episode number 7, and I'm so happy to be here with my friend, my brother, James McCrae. James, hello.
What's up, bro? Seven's my lucky number, so this being episode 7, it's perfect.
Oh, amazing. 7 is also my lucky number. So
Well, my birthday is 7/7.
my birthday's 7/8. So we're in business.
Your birthday is one day after mine?
Okay, no, so 8/7 actually. August 7th. You're July 7th?
I'm July 7th.
Yeah, wow. Cool. So you just had a birthday.
I did.
Okay, well, happy belated birthday, man.
Thanks, bro, and happy early birthday to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy you're here. I'm really grateful that we get to spend this time together. We haven't really spent a lot of time together in person. We met at Dream Camp in Toronto, outside of Toronto, a couple summers ago. And we've stayed connected online, but this is like our first opportunity really dropping in a while.
It
And
is. I see you on social media, so I feel like I see you, but it's not the same as dropping in. So
yeah,
it's about time. So I'm glad you invited me on. I'm glad you
yeah.
started the podcast. Congrats on that.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. I was just telling you before, like, it's really, this is an experiment for me. I'm in a very experimental season of just exploring new creative territory and new creative ground. And this is something that's been on my heart for a while to do. It's been on a list of like vision ideas for a long time. And it was just like the whisper kept getting louder and louder and louder. And in this current season where there's actually space for me to do it, I finally just kind of took the plunge, took the leap, and it's taken on a life, and it's giving me the opportunity. The part that I love about it most is getting to have these conversations. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm super stoked to have you here, and I want to say I'm a huge fan of your work. I have been from the get-go, since before we met. And recently, like, there's something going on with you, with me, collectively, that I've been really like feeling like resonance with what you're sharing. I noticed you changed the name of your publication from Creative Alchemy to Being Nobody.
Hmm.
So what's going on with you, man? Like, where are you at these days? What's alive? What's moving in you?
Yeah, good question. It's been a interesting time. It's been hard in some ways. It's been transformative in some ways. I mean, it's a journey, and life is always a journey, and every journey has unexpected twists and turns, and that's part of life. So I'm in a period of transition and uncertainty because I mean I'm an open book, so this is all still pretty fresh, but I'm happy to talk about it. My wife and I are in a period of separation,
Mm,
and it's sort of like for an indefinite period of time. We don't really know yet what's next, if we're going to get back together and when. Um, so we were living in Austin, Texas, where we've lived for the past 6 years. And I sort of suddenly had to find something new and
mm,
in a short period of time, like figure out something next. And I feel like this totally opened up for me this opportunity to live on this ranch in Wimberley, which is like an hour south of Austin. So I have been living on this ranch in nature in sort of the middle of nowhere. And there's horses and donkeys and goats and chickens and cows and a pool. And I have just been enjoying the outdoors, enjoying nature in a period of solitude and reflection and contemplation and reading and writing. And it's been really peaceful and really transformative. And it's sort of been this shedding of identity and ego and letting go, and it's like life is, you get attached to things and people and places and ideas and ambitions and dreams, and sometimes you need to let go and let that letting go is sort of an opening of the hands that allows you to receive new blessings. So it's a good reminder just to not hold anything too close in terms of permanence, because nothing, and I mean nothing, is permanent. No relationship is permanent because you're both going to die one day. Right? So you can't keep anything here. You can't keep anything here. All your dreams, all your ambitions, everything you're working towards, all your relationships, they're beautiful and they are special and they are also temporary. And so I've just been in this period of unraveling, and like I felt called. I felt sort of uninspired on Substack, and I feel like I had been sort of trying to be a teacher, and I am a teacher. I teach writing and creativity, and it was like, oh, I'm going to do like creative teaching and things, and I still do that, and I still will do that, but I felt like I was sinking into a deeper version of myself, and I feel like I needed to express that in my writing, including Substack, and I had this idea for this title, Being Nobody. And it's just sort of feels like that's kind of the phase I'm in. It's just like in a way, I don't have a desire right now to be somebody in terms of like the ego gratification and beautiful. Like trying to achieve things and be important and be somebody. It's like, no, you know what? I'm in a phase where I just want to be nobody.
Yeah, because it's exhausting, right? Like that whole hamster wheel.
Trying to be somebody.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, you're trying to be somebody, but who you really want to be is yourself, and you don't have to try to be yourself. Yourself isn't somebody. It's just your nature. It's what happens naturally. Like the natural world doesn't try to be anything. It just is. So for me, like being nobody just means being more myself and sinking into my nature. And just letting that be enough, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many places that I would want to take this conversation on, just on the springing off of that. But I'm thinking about some of the amazing things that you have created, just your IG account, for example, and the body of work that lives in that space, Words Are Vibrations, and your collection of ideas. I see you really as an idea artist in a lot of ways, which, I think your articulation of what a meme is really, when you distill it down, it's just a really refined idea. It's a really honed in idea, or you call it short form content, and even poetry, like poetry is a form of expressing words that's somewhat refined by comparison with like longer prose even. So I'm curious, like, do you feel like your previous, I mean, we're always evolving, we're always iterating, we're always shedding, right? So maybe this isn't a fair question, but it's like I came into this kind of with this curiosity of like, well, how do I honor the guy that's really on the being nobody path, which I can really relate to as well, but also honor who you have been and what you have created, which I think a lot of that does feel like it came from your soul, it came from who you are at essence, but I'm sure there was maybe some ego in there. So like, how do you hold those two things at the same time? when you're reflecting on your body of work and what you've already created, and then this phase that you're currently in where you're evolving into some new, maybe less ego driven or less even just ambitious expression.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I've been in the process of shedding my ego for a decade now. So it's not like
Yeah,
a
you have.
binary thing or now I've
Yeah.
done it.
Yeah.
Like my first book that came out in 2017 is called Shit Your Ego Says.
Yes.
It's all about me getting over my ego, right? And then here I am 10 years later, doing the same thing. So it's a gradual process. It's not like, oh, I was there and now I'm here. It's just like every day is, an act of becoming and just being. So I think of it more like, you look back at pictures of yourself in high school, in middle school, in as a kid, and you see your outfits and you see your hairstyle and you're like, who was I then? And it's not a good or bad thing. It's like, whoa, I can't believe that's who I was in that moment. And it's great and it's beautiful. And the fashions are out of style and whatever. And you're like, yeah, that's great that I was rocking that outfit.
Yeah, man.
That's so out of style now, but
totally.
it's perfect for that moment. So that's how I guess how I feel looking back at my art. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't wear that today, but it's cool that I wore it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of looking at it. I love that. And I think there's so much compassion in that. There's so
Yeah.
much, acceptance of the journey, which I think is so inherent in a lot of what you create as I experience it. You're really, and that's, I think, why I felt so called to invite you into this, because it's really about the creative hero's journey. And that's,
Yeah.
I think that's what we're so inspired by and passionate about. And it isn't about a destination or a version of ourselves. It's like, I made it. This is it. I've arrived.
No.
But I think that probably becomes, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine, the more what you create is appreciated and received widely, does that become harder? Does it become harder to like let go of what you did or who you were when you're receiving a lot of resonance, a lot of appreciation?
Yes and no. First of all, like talking about like letting go of work, it's like, what else are you gonna do? I mean, you know, I, you can't hold on to it. I mean, I work on, I sort of became known on Instagram, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like, no one cares what you posted yesterday.
True.
In other
True.
words, it's like social media, the nature of social media is just like, it just comes and goes. It comes and goes and comes and goes. And
Mm-hmm.
some people remember some of it or it inspires them and they share it. And then we all move on. So I think that's kind of a cool thing about social media is it is sort of like immediate.
Mm.
And it's not like, how are you going to cling to something you posted a year ago? Because like no one else, you know what I'm saying? It's like sort of like no one cares anymore.
Yeah.
And just like, I don't know, it's funny about social media. It's like, I guess it's a spiritual practice to post content because you're going to have flops all the time. And like you need
Yeah.
to get over that. Like you can't say one post flopped, I'm done. I'm no good at this. It's like no, you need to keep going, and you're gonna flop more, and you're gonna fail harder, and you just keep going, and you're just like, well, where am I at today? And it's like you can't get attached to what you did in the past. So, and then you're at the same time you're evolving, and it's like being in this world of social media and you're creating content and it's like if you don't evolve you're going to be miserable because
Mm.
it's something that you do. I don't really post every day these days. I used to, but if you get stuck in a formula and you're just repeating yourself, you're going to be bored, your
Yeah.
audience is going to be bored.
Yeah.
So I'm always like every day, it's like every day when I sit down to write, it's like it's literally a blank page, but it's
Mm.
also figuratively a blank page. Like where am
Mm-hmm.
I at today?
Mm-hmm. Do
And
you write every day?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And my favorite artists, because I think we become, I think it's so important to have creative inspiration and to have
Mm.
icons that motivate you, that you can learn from, and I think we're all part of a creative lineage, so to speak, from
Yeah.
the artists who influenced us. So I have always been inspired by artists who reinvent themselves. In the music world, that's like a Bob Dylan
Yeah.
or a David Bowie or a Miles Davis.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they never stayed in one place.
So
So I'm
true.
like, why would an artist stay in one place? Because then you're chasing what you did in the past, and it's never going to be the same. And you're chasing a hit single, and you're following a formula,
Yeah.
and it's like that's not what life is like, because your audience is changing too, and the world is changing, and like the world we live in now is different than the world that we lived in 3 years ago. It's always changing. So people's emotions are changing, their attitudes are changing, and if you don't change as an artist, it's just not going to feel real. It's not going to feel in the moment, and especially on social media, it's very like in the moment kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
I think it's so important to evolve and show up who you are today, not who you used to be or who other people expect you to be.
Yeah. So I'm curious, how would you say you are changing as an artist at the moment? Like, I obviously I get that it's a reflection of who you're being. You're talking about just how you're evolving, and you're in this season of uncertainty. You're in this season of, being separated from your wife and
Mm-hmm.
your baby girl, as I
Mm-hmm.
understand too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what is that asking of you to become in who you're being, and how is that expressing in your orientation creatively?
I think there's a couple things I've noticed in my work lately, especially since coming to the ranch.
Mm,
One is I am less interested in pretending I have the answers.
yeah,
I'm less interested in giving direction or like, yeah, it's more like sharing my process. It's like this
yeah,
is where I'm at, and it's like, and it's like less preachy, I guess, in a way. And it just feels more like, you can teach things, but you can also teach through personal experience, and I think that can
yeah,
be more resonant and real.
absolutely.
So that's one.
I just want to say I really appreciate you even bringing that into this conversation. Like,
Yeah.
just the openness, the vulnerability, the realness. It's so much more compelling than like, I've got this figured out and I'm going to speak from that place, which immediately creates a
Yeah.
distance, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because because I'm an artist and I'm also a teacher, right? Like I make my living primarily from teaching classes and working with clients, and where I am giving direction and I am
Yeah.
telling people how to do things, right? So that's part of what I do. But I think the best art is less didactic, and it's more expressive, more vulnerable, more
Mm-hmm.
intimate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's better for art.
Yeah. And I hear that as like teach over preach, like you can teach without preaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just be like, this is where I'm at, and this is what's on my mind, and I don't have it all figured out, but these are the ideas that I'm working through, and maybe y'all in the comments can help me figure this out because I'm not fully sure, but this is where I'm at.
Yeah. It's such a delicate balance though too, because if you're like overly sharing from your experience in a way that actually makes it hard for the person on the receiving end to feel held or like they can trust, like I feel like it's just such a fine line between like that balance of, because you often also talk about creativity as a purge, but you're not necessarily wanting to be in the purge when you're sharing with the people you're teaching.
Hmm.
So it's like that delicate balance, right?
I think so. I think there's different audiences that want different things. I think there's some unhinged teachers out there that people really enjoy.
Yeah, fair enough.
Depends on what you're teaching too.
True. Actually, we have a friend in common, Dave Sutcliffe. You know Dave, right?
I just saw him. He was at my birthday party.
Yeah, and what I love about Dave is I wouldn't call Dave unhinged. He's quite grounded, but he goes there, like he lets his stuff come through,
Yeah.
and it's so compelling. Like it's just like you want to You
He's
want to
funny.
listen to what he has to say. Yeah, he's hilarious. But
He's
I
funny.
love the way he really lets his anger express in his transmissions, and I think that's very rare. Because he's not just presenting one shade. So
Yeah, you got to be true with where you're at. I'm not a fiery person. You're a fire sign, right? You're a Leo.
yes,
So you're a fire sign.
yeah, I got
I
some
have no
fire.
fire in my chart. Like I don't have anger and rage and like burning emotion. Like I don't have that. I just don't have it. I'm a
Yeah,
cold, calm dude.
you really are.
You
You are a
know,
cool
like I'm
cat.
water and air and earth, and I'm just like grounded and like fluid, right?
Yeah,
So I just don't have that fire to work with. So it's not in my art, and it's like, but if you have that, you have to get it out. You have to be fiery. You have to be bold. You have to burn things down because you are fire. You embody
you
fire.
do.
That's what you do. That's your element.
Or else you get burned. Actually, or it can make you sick. If you're not expressing. So, yeah, I totally resonate. But
Yeah.
so, what is your version of that? What is aside from just your cool cucumber nature that comes through? Actually, there's a calming element to your transmissions. But yeah, what would you say are the aspects of your authentic expression that going back to the question that we were kind of jamming on in this season?
Yeah. Okay. So it is calm in a way, and also I would say it's also sort of existential. Like
Mm,
I've a lot of like Aquarius in my chart, and I always feel like that's like the existential alien sign.
yeah.
So just sort of this like state of awe and confusion about the nature of reality, and just like again not having it figured out and be like, what is going on in this planet Earth, and what does it mean to be human? And it's like this existential questioning
Yeah.
of what it means to be a human. And what I'm drawn towards lately is like truly classic, timeless writing.
Mm.
Um, I've been reading ancient Chinese poetry
Wow. That's
primarily.
that's pretty that's pretty niche. That's pretty cool.
Right. It is niche these days because I feel like it's just not represented in modern poetry. Like haikus are more Japanese, right? But they're
Yeah.
influenced by Chinese, and it's like it's very simple writing. I feel like modern poetry has a hard time being simple,
Yeah.
and it's a language thing, right? Like especially in ancient days, it's like the Chinese language is extremely limited because it's like they're each word is like a picture. It's like they have a very small number of pieces to work with when it comes to arranging together a poem.
Yeah, right.
Whereas like the English language has by far more words than any other language,
Mm.
which is why it's sort of become this like expressive language, and you can say so many things in so many ways, and you can just kind of like really weave in and out of worlds, right? And it's like I think that a lot of writing lately, and just the American lineage of poetry, which is what I by default am part of,
Yeah.
it's long-winded.
Yeah.
It's free verse, and it's just like rambles on and on and on. And that's sort of like the American spirit and coming the endless frontier and like this sense of freedom to explore and express. So I think that modern poets have a hard time being brief, and also just compacting a lot of meaning into a short real estate. So that's what I'm learning from the Chinese poetry is like how, because they'll just write something and it's like two sentences,
Yeah.
and it's like, and it like somehow is a complete thought. So I've been writing poetry that's a few sentences, and it's like there's nothing else I need to say. It's like
Yeah.
that says it all. Like why? Otherwise, you're just like, whoa, you're like, oh, look at my beautiful language and my thought process, and it's like it's like showy. It's like a
Yeah.
little bit like you're showy. Like, look at the way I think and the way I feel, and which is great. I'm not dissing that. I'm just explaining where I'm at now and how I'm feeling about my work.
Yeah.
And
I
I've
mean,
written long poems. Trust me, I've written long poems. But right now, I'm just like, I want to write some, and I'm conscious of like, if this poem is translated into other languages and it's like 500 years from now, is it still going to resonate? So it's like every word matters, every how you're saying it. So just trying to be compact and punchy and timeless, and that's just where I'm at right now.
man, I love this. I think this is it's such an evolution of your existing genius, actually, because as I was really diving into your world today, I was, I'm a word nerd myself. You're a lover and appreciator of words.
Yeah.
And I think there is always a temptation to just weave the words in the most articulate and
Yeah.
artistic way. But I think a big part of your magic is in the simplicity. And I think I wrote down like say less, like just as I was taking notes, like, which is a funny kind of slangy statement that everyone always throws, are like say less. But and my wife and I use it these days a lot in our house. So it's just like, I already know what you're trying to tell me. You don't have to say it. But I think what you're naming is a beautiful skill that you already possess, that you're refining, which is really inspiring, because I feel like you already have that, and yet you're deepening in that. And I also think in this current age of just so much noise and so much volume of content and art, I think your ability to capture an idea in the most efficient way is part of what has really allowed you to cut through the noise.
Yeah, thank you. Efficient. That's a good word. I hate, honestly, and part of it, I don't want to waste the reader's time. I see some long books out there. I go through a book and pick it up and I look through it and it's like, oh, no, you're this is too long. You're taking too long to get to the point. I
Yeah.
lose interest. And yeah, it's funny because it's like, yeah, you could say that social media gives us a shorter attention span, but I'm talking about poetry from thousands of years ago that follows
Yeah.
similar principles about being short and to the point. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's not a social media thing. But yeah, I think that if I could give advice for writers out there, especially poets, please don't rely on too many adjectives and unnecessary flourishes. I know you think it adds color and texture and personality to the writing, and I think a lot of young writers think that's where the poetry is. It's in like the fancy expression of things, and like, oh, I pulled out this really interesting word from my back pocket and it has a certain style. But the flourishes and the adjectives are not the poetry, they are makeup.
Right.
And if you're wearing too much makeup, you're not going to look good. A little makeup is okay. You need to be tasteful. You can use adjectives sparingly. But if it doesn't work, if the concept that you're writing about, if the idea itself is not hitting, you can't cover that up with makeup, with adjectives, with unnecessary flourishes. It just is not going to help it land any better. So I'm like, I try to write as clear as possible. And there's no, like, I'm not hiding behind fancy language. I'm just trying to explain as succinctly as I can whatever idea or feeling I'm trying to articulate, and letting that stand on its own. So it's like, focus on what you're actually saying and what you're describing, not hiding behind like fancy language.
So let me ask you a question, because I think there's a little distinction that's kind of emerging in this like line of thought, which is creating for the sake of your own liberation, alchemizing, processing, purging, versus creating with an audience in mind, and some would say, don't think of the audience, just like, do what you need to do, what's going to feel good to you. But I think you're kind of drawing an important distinction. So like, can you speak on that a little bit? The difference between like creative alchemy when you're creating for yourself and you're not thinking about brevity necessarily versus this other thing that you're defining here as like, don't waste the reader's time. Get to the point. Which, by the way, you did bring some fire there. There was some fire. I was like, oh, you got some fire.
You brought it out of me.
Yeah, all right. All right. I'll take it.
It's a really good question. Personally, because I think people do morning pages. People like to just write to process things and write to journal with no intention of sharing it. It's just like, I'm going to work through my thoughts and feelings in the paper and see what comes out. And I think that's a really good practice, and it's like, can be therapeutic. Chris, it's rare that I ever write anything that is not shared.
Interesting.
Not a single word. Not a single word.
Interesting.
I mean, I might not share it, whatever. I might not get around to it. Like, it depends. But at this point in my process, everything I write, it's like, it's to be shared. And I work through, and I might be working through my whatever emotions or thoughts, but you could say I'm working it out in public. I'm working it out in a publicly accessible format. So it's not just for me. I mean, it's to be shared. Maybe that's just the stage I'm at. I've been writing for decades. I've done journaling in the past, but it's like, no, I'm more interested in the craft of writing than the dumping my... I am dumping my subconscious, my emotions, my thoughts. But what's exciting for me in writing is the craftsmanship and writing something that is worth reading. Maybe that's just where I'm at right now, but that's just what I'm interested in.
I do see that as an evolution of the craft. I think, I think if I think about my own expression, it starts as, I currently do both. I'll say that. I do have space in my life where I'm doing the thing of just getting it out on the page, but I think that line becomes blurrier the more you become refined in your craft. And even not only not wanting to waste the reader's time, like I sometimes also feel like I want to make the most of this expression, like I only have a limited amount of time as well. So it's like, and I do really, that is a skill that I recognize in some of the people that I have the privilege of knowing who are really masterful in their craft and who are, there isn't really that other space where it's like, this is just for me to get it out. They find a way to get it out in a way that's still going to be able to be repurposed and shared. And I think that is, that's an evolution of craft. That's a season of maturity in one's artistry that, maybe you don't start there, but it's something to aspire to. Absolutely. And I think it's an important distinction,
Yeah. And I also think that, because you mentioned this, and this is like an adage that's going around, thanks to Rick Rubin, where he's like, don't think about the audience.
Yeah, or the audience comes last, right? Yeah.
I get what he's saying. I think for most artists, especially writers, I think that's really bad advice. People have latched onto that, and it's like, in a way it's true, in a way it's very not true. So how is it true?
Tell me more.
So how is it true? Don't compromise your art to make things that you think people want.
Yeah.
Like, just because something is popular, don't copy it. Don't say, oh, this thing got a lot of likes, or this book got a lot of sales, or this song got a lot of listens. So therefore, to appease all these audience people that I don't know, I'm going to compromise my artistic vision in an attempt to appease the masses.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Don't do that.
Yes.
Don't compromise your art to please other people.
Yeah, which I think is the heart of what he's saying. Don't create thinking about what they're going to like or what's going to do well or what's going to be
Right.
popular, right? But it's okay. What's the challenge?
Well, as a writer, there's a reader. It's a symbiotic relationship. It's like if you're a teacher, let's say you're a teacher. Can you imagine that advice for a teacher? Yo, don't care about the audience, man. Just go in there and teach, man. Just go in there and teach. And like, don't worry about the audience, man. They come last. Just go out there and cook, bro. Just go out there and cook. That's crazy. It's like, no, third graders have this level of knowledge. And if you want to explain math or science or literature, it's like you need to know where they're at. You need to know what lessons are going to reach them. And like
Yeah.
there needs to be some thought process in how to connect with a third grader compared to an eighth grader, etc. The audience is the whole point. It's the whole point. And as a writer, the reader is the whole point. And maybe it's different from music. And I think Rick Rubin has an incredible level of taste and experience.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
music is one thing. It's like, no, just play. It's like, yeah, because you know it sounds good and you're going to, but knowing what sounds good to you is like also, if you have good taste, going to sound good to others, or at least the people who are into that genre. That advice only works if you have really good taste. And not everyone has really good taste. It's so important to have good taste. It's so important to consume art. You need to, if you want to write poetry, you need to read a lot of poetry.
Yeah.
You just do. You can't shortcut. There's no shortcuts. Like you need to know what is this industry that you're in? It's like if you're getting into an industry, you need to know the industry. If you're getting into poetry, you need to know what poetry is. I mean, there are outliers, like there are exceptions of people who just like come in and sort of break down the door and just have their own style that doesn't fit and isn't connected to anything, and they've never read a poem in their lives, but it's quirky and it's interesting. There are exceptions to that, but I think generally speaking, you need to know the landscape that you're working in, and the more you read, the more you sort of have like tips and tricks and tools to draw from and integrate into your own work. Or same with
Yeah.
music, it's like you learn things when you consume art. And when you consume art over decades, you're integrating all these little tips and tricks that you somehow helps to inform your own art. So
Yeah.
it's so important just to have a depth of references to draw from.
Yeah. Which is really just developing your taste as you said. And I think
Yeah.
I definitely think that wisdom of Rick's is a bit of an oversimplification. I think you articulated well that it probably depends on the art form to a degree. Like I
Yeah.
love that you're distinguishing. Like if you're a teacher, if there's a teacher element, you
Yeah.
do have to think about the audience, which I think is valuable, and I think that's maybe closer to being a writer. But I think the essence of it is really about developing trust in your own taste, developing trust in what sounds, feels good to you,
Sure.
and not outsourcing that. But if you're creating in a way that you lack the taste and you lack the awareness of who it's for, then you might be in trouble. But if you're having a good time, then hey, all the power to you. But I think, yeah, like you're bringing this like element into the conversation that I think is so relevant, which is that symbiotic relationship. A lot of wisdom around the creative act and creative expression tries to get people to that place where they're not thinking about that, because then the most pure, honest thing will come through.
Right.
But I think there's another way to achieve that, which is
Pure and
to.
honest, or sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's all right. No, I think what you're alluding to is a way to access that purity and that honesty,
Yeah.
while also acknowledging that there is a desire to connect with
Right.
your audience or whoever it's going to receive your art.
So purity and honesty are great. Those are essential ingredients in art. But you know what? Even then, not all the time.
Yeah.
Who says art needs to be honest? And this is what And again, it's yes and no, because I always think about, yeah, authenticity in art is good. Everyone talks about, you got to be authentic. Not necessarily.
Okay.
Look at an artist like Andy Warhol. He's a conceptual artist, and he was silk screening Marilyn Monroe and Elvis Presley and Campbell's soup cans onto canvases. How is that authentic? It's not. It's conceptual. Now, it's
Right.
authentic in a way because that was his sort of sensibility. He was sort of a
Exactly.
detached person,
Right.
and he was legitimately interested in mundane pop culture, and he saw the art in it. So in a way, it is authentic to his sensibility, but it's like you wouldn't describe that as authentic art. It's conceptual art. So what I'm getting at is that purity and honesty, as you said, are, in my opinion, important, but so is craftsmanship. And I think that, I think that to be perfectly honest, a lot of writers these days lack craftsmanship, and I think it's because poetry exists so far outside of the like the traditional institutional systems, and that like people used to learn poetry in college and as part of this like institutional education. And I think most poets now just sort of like it, and they maybe follow some poets on social media. So they
Yeah.
write, and they are being pure and honest, but maybe they don't have the level of craftsmanship or dedication to the craft. So back to Rick Rubin, to a degree, craftsmanship is thinking about the audience, because you're making it for someone. Again, you're making it for someone, and you're expressing your honest thoughts. But it's like, again, I'm just, and this is just me because I'm in this place where I'm trying to write. Like I'm inspired by short, timeless, classic poetry, specifically from China, Japan. But it's like, how can you craft something in a way where it's like going to elicit an effect? So you're thinking about the audience. You're not, and like, okay, how do you land the plane? How do you finish a sentence? How do you present a metaphor, or which metaphor do you present that's going to elicit an effect, that's going to have people be like, oh, or inspire this moment of realization? So you're actually trying to get in someone's head and be like, how do you elicit a response? And how do you engineer and craft this art to elicit a response in them? So you're thinking about them, you're not compromising it, you're being smart, and you're crafting it in a way where it's going to be impactful. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, a part of me wants to say, I think the version of purity that I'm thinking of, like I hear a certain level of purism in you. You're a purist. You're like, you got to have a lineage. You got to study your craft. You got to honor the greats and stop wasting people's time. Like there's a level of purism in that. And I think, again, like that's the thing with words, right? Because even words can be interpreted subjectively based on the association that we have.
Yeah.
But I also think there's another way that people can become devoted to craft, which is mastering one's craft as an act of devotion in and of itself to something greater, to God, to the creative spirit. And I think you're drawing a really significant distinction in your approach that I think it's fresh, it's refreshing. It's not for necessarily going to be for everyone, and neither is the alternative that I just elicited, which I think maybe there's even other approaches, right? It's not just do it for the audience and be devoted to your craft so that you can serve them in the best way, nor is it do it out of devotion to God and be devoted to that and forget about the audience. There's probably, I'd say I probably live somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But I think in both things there's some really beautiful principles of devotion to our craft and really understanding the potential to make an impact, to elicit feeling. which is, I know that's what drew me into music in the first place. I was at a Ben Harper concert and I literally felt spirit entered the room. Like there was something that happened through the music that was being transmitted. And I was like, man, I want to make people feel that way. Like the way that just made me feel, I want to do that. Yeah. And I think that's important to acknowledge, and in order to do that, you got to be damn good at your craft.
Yeah.
So that you can be out of the way enough for that magic to come through.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You're not going to be good at anything without devotion and dedication to the craft.
Right.
Talent is overrated.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people who are talented and then they end up running out of gas or not advancing or not, developing. Talent will only get you so far. You have to have dedication and devotion, and whatever you want to do, you need to do it as a ritual and make it a habit. Like people tell me I'm a good writer, and it's like I've been writing every single day for, maybe not every day for decades, but I've probably written every day for a decade. And I started writing poetry when I was 14. And I had notebooks filled with poems that no one ever read. I told you now, everything I write is meant to be read. Everything. But I've written thousands, hundreds for sure, of poems that zero people have read. Zero.
Yes.
Because there were, you got to put in the work. You got to put in the reps. It's like if you're a basketball player, you want to go out there and make a game-winning three. Do you know how many shots those guys are putting up in the gym to prepare
100%.
them for that one shot at the end of the game? Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of shots day after day for years and years and years. That puts them in a position to perform publicly on the stage. So there's no shortcuts. You need to put in the work. You need to have a devotion to your craft, and you need to make it a ritual.
Amen. Well, that feels like a really good moment to engage in a ritual of our own, which is not necessarily a ritual that I intend to master over the course of a lifetime, but we do have a tradition here on the Alchemist Way, which is to share in the enjoyment of a chocolate chip cookie. And there is an intention behind this because it elicits the inner child. It's playful. It's sort of zero fucks given act to do so on camera, on a podcast, when there's all this pressure to get to the point and make it, which to your point, we don't want to waste anyone's time, but we're going to enjoy a chocolate chip cookie. I think we've covered some really good ground, and this feels like a great moment to engage in such a ritual. So do you have your chocolate chip cookie present? You do?
Oh, I sure do.
Have you had any of it yet?
Not this one.
What do you got there? What kind of cookie is it? Is there anything you want to tell us about this cookie?
No, I have the box. I could look at it. I think it's just a chocolate chip cookie. I almost got the white macadamia chocolate.
Okay.
But I just went with a classic chocolate chip.
Are you a cookie guy? Are you?
I'm not a big sweets guy.
Okay.
But no, who doesn't love a cookie? Yeah, sure.
Contrary to your cool cucumber man nature.
Yeah, I like some cookies. Yeah, here and there.
Okay, well, this is a gluten-free chocolate chip cookie that my wife just baked, so I'm gonna have a bite here. Do you have something to go along with it? A little.
No, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna dip it in tea.
Oh, okay, nice.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna dip mine in tea.
I've got some almond milk here. I'm gonna do a dip as well. We'll dip together. Okay, bro. Bottoms up.
Cheers.
Cheers, bro. That cookie was made with a lot of love. That much I know.
Mine too, and mass manufactured factory love.
Love is love. It's a different kind of love. It's also a process of really coming into the body
Mm-hmm.
and into the present moment. And I love something I came across of yours that I've been seeing a little bit more of these days, which is kind of this idea of creating from the body, like somatic
Yeah.
creative expression.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about what that is and what that looks like for you, or if that's something you teach, what people might be able to tap into that in some way?
Yeah. I think a lot about the creative process, and I'm a mindfulness teacher as well, and I've spent a lot of years, meditating and practicing meditation and yoga as well. So I always thought that, I would go to yoga class. It was Kundalini yoga back when I lived in New York City, and we would do breath work, we would do meditation, we would do chanting. It would be like a full body thing, and then after class, it felt like I had my portal of intuition was wide open, and I would just feel inspired, and I have all these ideas, and I write them down. So, I really tune into this idea of creativity being a form of channeling, and the mind is many things. There's many facets to the mind, and it's like the best creativity is not intellectual. You're not solving a problem. You're not like figuring it out consciously. You are creating the conditions to open up the channel for inspiration, which is intuition. So I started believing, and still do believe, that creativity is a form of intuition. The best ideas they sort of hit you when you least expect it. So in addition to craftsmanship, which we talked about, it's also so important to cultivate the conditions for your intuition to be heard, which is less about thinking and more about listening. So that's the idea of the muse. It's like the muse is your intuition. It's this sort of subconscious intelligence that you need to slow down your busy conscious mind and listen. And then you can receive insights and intuition.
Yeah. And so would you say that lives like as a felt sense in the body?
Yes. Yes. I think that your body and your energy have access to a subtle intelligence that's beyond the reach of the conscious mind. I think that, not all the time, but I think in many cases, and perhaps most, like, intuition starts in the body as a felt sensation.
Yeah.
There's so much intelligence in the body. Like the mind is so overrated. And the mind is great, right? I mean, it's what a powerful tool. The brain is such a powerful tool. It's amazing. It's, wow, what a miracle, right? But it's also overrated because it's limited. It's like a computer's hard drive. It's like you can store information on it and put things in folders and file them away, but you only have access to the data that's on the hard drive. Whereas intuition is like connecting to the internet. And then suddenly you can download things that aren't on the hard drive, and you have access to infinity. The internet connects you to infinity depending on where you want to go, right? So intuition is the same. It's like instead of fishing for fish in a shallow pond, you're fishing in a vast ocean. But again, I think the body plays a pivotal role.
Yeah.
And the more I have become in tune with my body, getting out of your head. I used to think like it's about getting out of your head and into your heart. And that's part of it, but it's really your body. How do you feel?
Yeah.
What's going on in your feelings, right? Because I think we're animals, right? And like the same way animals have instincts, and they can pick up on predators or a storm coming or something. They kind of know it in their body. They don't know it intellectually. We know things in our body as felt sensation. but you got to really slow down and pay attention. And in my experience, the more I sit down and just sink into my body and wait and listen, eventually what I'm feeling will manifest as a thought. The longer you can sit with it in silence and listen and feel, the thought will come. So instead of searching for the thought, searching for the idea, sink into your body and feel and wait and listen and don't hurry. You know, sometimes I'm writing. I write every morning. I might write it. It might take me an hour to write one sentence.
Okay.
And I'm not even like
that.
That's not even a problem. So I write every day, and I talk about the importance of dedication and consistency and devotion. But I never said anything about word count.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't measure my success by my productivity or my word count. Like again, if I write 2 killer sentences and it takes me an hour to do it, like that's great. And that's just the style that I'm in. I don't want to I'd rather sit there and wait for the right sentence and like than just write for the sake of writing and just write a bunch of stuff. So I'm I'm a very slow writer.
I love that. Okay, so I feel like I have a very poignant question in the name of like really distilling this down to the most efficient. I'm gonna try to articulate the $1 million question, because I feel like we've really presented some potentially conflicting ideas, right? Which is, you know, being a channel for some inspiration to come through, but also being mindful and aware of the potential end user, right? And listening in the body. And so I guess just thinking about the power of intention, and you know, whenever I sit down to create, like I think what we intend for our creative expression or for our creative time is an important focal point. So I'm curious, like if you had to just say, when you sit down at the page, what is the essence of the intention? Amidst all the things, or maybe it's an assimilation of the things that we talked about, like what's the one primary central intention when you sit down to create?
So I'm getting, what's coming through is like layers of intention.
Okay.
So let's try to break it down.
Okay.
On the highest most layer would be like, I am a writer. Like if I am anything in this life, it's a writer.
So just being what you are.
Yeah, honoring my dharma.
Yeah.
That's what I do. That's what I have been doing. That's what I feel called to do. So as you know, my human form is a writer. So that's what writers do, is they write.
Gotcha. So there's like just a beingness quality. You're just being what you are. You're just like like you said, nature. You're just a bird doing bird things.
You're fulfilling your dharma.
Okay.
So that happens to be mine. So that's the highest most layer of my intention, is just to dedicate myself to the craft that I do. That's what I do.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it depends what I'm working on. I guess the next layer will just would almost be like writing the best thing that I can, just like doing good work. Like, and again, I'm picky. Like I pick up books and I'm just not interested. I'm just not into it. Like I'm just like meh. You know, great writers, and I'm just like, I get it. I guess I'm just like eh. I'm not easily impressed by writing. I'm just not. Yeah. I'm not. So I really want to write good stuff, and like good is subjective, right? But I want to write powerful things. I want to write something that lands. That's like compelling. It's like I want to breathe more life into poetry.
Yeah. So I hear that as like you want to make something that you really love, you know, that really moves you.
Yeah, just captivating art, man. Just captivating art. I just think of my favorite art as captivating. It's like, bam. They just like make a statement. Like Miles Davis coming in on his trumpet, just like owning that thing. You know what I'm saying? Just like boom. Like that he did something there. So just like good writing and whatever that means, like
Yeah.
it could be different day to day, right? But it's like I want to make captivating art.
Okay.
Um, and also just like again, like resurrect the medium of poetry. I think poetry. It's funny. There are a lot of poets these days, and social media has opened up the doors for a lot of poets, which is great. But I mean, poetry used to be like the hottest thing. You know, it used to be shocking. It used to be. It used to be. You know, it used to be captivating. And I think that it's maybe more tame these days, or safe, or so many other. I think music has taken over where poetry used to be, and even music is losing that. There's losing the baton for, like, you know, think of the rock and roll. I think like when the rock and roll era came up, and then because they picked up from, like, there was poets like Allen Ginsberg or Jack Kerouac and like the beat poets.
Yes.
They were the ones that inspired the rock and roll poets, the songwriters.
Yes.
And then rock and roll sort of took on this mantle of being the, like, most important art form, and like being shocking and being compelling, and you know, and that lasted for a really long time. And even now music is sort of losing that place in our culture.
Totally, man.
So it's like, where is the next cool shit coming from? Social media? A little bit? I mean, obviously music is still relevant, right? But my intention is always to, like, light up culture as much as I can. And it doesn't mean I'm a rock star. I'm not even like a spoken word poet. I don't mean light up. Like, I'm not going to take the stage and like
You're gonna
drop
light
some
it up.
bars. It's like, we need some compelling art in our world.
Yeah.
And if any way that I can add to that is amazing. Yeah, I guess then on another level, it's just like it really depends what I'm writing, and I'm trying to honor the project that I'm working on.
Yeah.
So, like, I think I've become more localized intentions depending on the project.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very clear, actually. I heard, like,
Yeah.
honor dharma,
Yep.
you know, and then honor taste, like,
Yeah, culture.
yeah, culture. Yeah, there's an element of, like, honoring lineage too. When you talk about honoring craft, when you're like,
Yeah.
so it's like, and I think what's really, and then the most sort of here and now is like honor the present, you know, like honor this moment. And I think what's cool, what I'm just extracting from that is that I think in the process of doing those things, you honor the audience, you honor the receiver, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I love that we dissected that a little bit. Okay, I got one last question for you, and then we'll wrap this up. Just because you sort of alluded, like, I had this thought earlier. I was like, if I could ask James one question based on everything you've already shared, because I don't want to reiterate, you know, like, where do you think all of this is going? You know, I'm just so curious. And when I say all of this, I mean, like, just the way that we're currently plugged in through these devices and these social media platforms. And I'm literally talking about, like, the future of the artist, you know, like as a musician in this lifetime, as an artist of many stripes, and I'm sure you could relate, we've already experienced many evolutions of the way our art is consumed, the way it's distributed, you know, the value that it holds, the industries that are built around it. So if you had, like, you know, if I could ask you to, like, look in your James crystal ball, where do you see this all going? And this, I just want to tie this back into, like, the concept of being nobody, because I think the current systems and structures are sort of asking us to, like, really play the game of trying to be somebody. Like, get your audience big, and then we'll give you the opportunity, and then your art actually has value. That's sort of one of the, like, ideas that's out there that I think a lot of people get indoctrinated into. And I think so many of us are wanting to shed that programming. So I hope that's not too much to put in the pot, but I know you're a very intelligent guy. You could hold it all. So where is this all going, in your opinion?
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting question. art's always changing. It's never been one thing. We talk about art as if it's one thing. It's always changed, and the technology has always informed how it changes. Like at one point, the art was like either cave paintings or orally recited stories,
Yeah.
or dancing around a fire or whatever, right? We
Yeah.
had very limited access to technology. I mean, think about how big of a advance that the written language was in scrolls, where you could preserve information on a parchment paper that could survive and be passed down. And think about the printing press and what that did for art, where you could reproduce things at scale, and you didn't need these orally recited poems anymore. That became a thing of the past. So I think that technology is always informing where we go as artists, and when we look back, it all makes sense in hindsight. We can see the different eras. So I think that the death of the artist, as some people are fearing these days, with especially the rise of artificial intelligence, it's highly overstated.
Yeah, I agree.
We adapt. That's the human skill that we have. That's the most critical human skill that's allowed us to survive and evolve and change to all these different conditions, is our adaptability. And who's more adaptable than the artists? We're the ones that are supposed to be fluid, shapeshifters. So we're made for this, guys. Like, we are made to adapt and to shapeshift. And being untethered from the past, meaning things are changing, new technologies are coming along, social media, music isn't quite what it used to be. Now it's driven by TikTok, like loops and things like that. And it's like, it's easy to be like, oh man, the whole art movement is dying. I'm a big fan of live in-person spaces, right? And like going to concerts and like even cool coffee shops and stuff. So many places are shutting down. So many cool, quirky venues and coffee shops and dive bars and stuff. They're closing down. So in a way, the world, one world is ending in so many ways. But what resembles death is always a rebirth. So I see that as the potential for like a new renaissance, because renaissance means rebirth. And the Renaissance came about in the Dark Ages. It was like after the collapse of the Roman Empire, Europe was sort of in this period of unraveling, and there was no sort of like unifying mythological framework. And it's from that sort of decay that the Renaissance was born. So nothing is more reliable than human ingenuity and innovation. And the Renaissance started from the artists, and the artists who were studying science and mathematics and looking back to ancient Greece and resurrecting some of the principles of classicism and bringing them into the present to inspire the Renaissance. So, we're going to do so many things. I'm excited to see where it goes. I think it's going to be an age of regeneration. So it's like, how can we take, the decay that's happening around the world and what's sort of we're losing. What you lose creates space for something new.
100%.
And the artists are the dreamers that plant the seeds in the culture to inspire change. So it's going to look all sorts of different ways. And it's up to us. So compost the past into the future and make cool shit and just like keep the flame alive and experiment and try new things and see where it goes and be open to new ideas and just untether yourself from the expectations of the past. Yeah, is the music industry dying in some ways? Yeah, is like the the publishing industry changing? Yeah. But instead of like lamenting what's lost, like explore and experiment to create the new. And that's what artists do. So we're going to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, we are. James, what a pleasure, man. I love what you just shared. That feels like the perfect exclamation point for this conversation. And yeah, it's just been such a pleasure hanging with you, jamming with you, sharing ideas. And I appreciate you just sharing your heart so generously and your lived experience in a way that no doubt will be of great value and benefit to anyone who tunes in. So thank you, brother. Bless you. And I wish you all the best on this next phase of your journey. And I'm glad to be on the journey together, man.
For sure. Thank you, Chris. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on. It's good to drop in and connect.
Yeah, my pleasure, brother. Much love. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Until next time, keep creating, do the thing, make cool shit. Don't be afraid. Like James said, much love. Peace. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode and spending your time diving deep with us. You can find James at jamesmccrae.com, and he also hosts a creative community called Sunflower Club, where he brings creatives together to explore some of these themes in more depth. So you definitely want to check that out, as well as his Instagram page, Words Are Vibrations. As always, if anything that you saw or heard in this episode resonated with you, please share, please subscribe, leave a review. All of these ways that you engage help get these messages out further. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Much love. Peace.